Sorry about you. Live from the Pines, episode 94, almost to 100. Today we welcome back Coach Morgan, athletic director, head football coach, Port Arthur Memorial High School. How you doing, Coach?
All good, as long as you keep winning.
I hear that. It's glad to have you back on the show. What's it feeling like in Port Arthur? Playing football in December, like you said last week, the community was all out, fans all out. What's it looking like in Port Arthur right now?
I mean, obviously a lot of positive energy and a lot of good things going on. I think anywhere you are, anytime you're winning and kind of on a run, people get behind you and you get more people showing up week in, week out that maybe wouldn't regularly come to the game. Maybe they're not tied to an individual that's currently playing. But no, the community's been great. It's been a great atmosphere at the games.
So, does the day-to-day change, or, we doing the same things that we've been doing since the regular season and district play and all that?
It hadn't changed a bit for us, that's for sure. We're on the same routine. It's a little different this week just because it's a Saturday game. But a Monday practice is a Monday practice. Our kids know what they get, and we'll roll the rest of the week.
So I haven't got a chance to break down all the brackets and numbers and stuff, but, there's not many teams left playing right now. And, what's the message like to the kids, letting them know how, they did all, the coaches did everything to, prepare them to get here, but without them being on the field, we can't be here, and they've, earned the right to play football in December.
Yeah, I mean, it's way easier to motivate them at this point than it is at some other times during the season. They're locked in. When the game went final last night and we kind of solidified what the plan was this week, I mean, they were blowing up my phone with text, and there's some things, just amongst us that we say and communicate, and that they're ready to go.
Yeah, imagine. So, you start the first round out, you play Galena Park, take care of business there, then you roll by and consolidate it, and then you roll by the brother school, College Station, and you look back a couple of weeks ago, I would have never imagined College Station, playing in the third round, and here they are. It's crazy how district play shakes out, and then you get a team, playing in the third round. Now you have Barbers Hill, who, dropped a couple big games this season that are now playing you guys in the regional final.
Yeah, I think during district play, I mean, if you look on College Station side, they lost a couple games early. They played kind of the better teams in their district early, and so I think they really got to play. They got better as the season went on. They figured out who they were. Their quarterback was a good player, and so I think they figured it out, and they kind of changed a little bit offensively as they got later in the season and relied on him running the ball, and so they played better. And I think the same thing with Barbers Hill. Even if you drop a couple during district play, once you get to the playoffs, if you get healthy and you got healthy guys and your kids are playing well at the right time, you got a chance. I mean, it's so much. Everybody talks about it, but it's way more luck than everybody realizes of being healthy, and that's probably the biggest factor. There's a lot of really, really good teams that may not be playing right now strictly because some key guys got hurt.
Yeah, that's very true. It's hard to keep your full team together this long in the season, and that's something that you've been blessed with is keeping your guys healthy and having everybody ready to roll. And what sticks out the most to you about your team going back to the middle of the district is when you were headed to Luck and basically to where you are now?
Probably since we talked last time, it's just man, I've got a really good group of seniors, not only on the football field, but senior leadership. And those guys have played a lot of football. And when it comes down to it, they've been in situations. They're really controlled in games. The last two games, I think, were tie games at halftime. So, I mean, we had to really go in there and make some adjustments and clean some things up from the first half. And, and our guys really have handled those things well. And you just have to know. I mean, nobody's quitting at the end of games in the playoffs. Everybody's fighting for their lives. And College Station did the same thing. We got up a couple touchdowns, and then they would score. You have to go score again, and they would score. And so you got to keep playing, and you got to play well. You can't turn the ball over. But that's the biggest key. Is I've got a great group of seniors from the quarterback on down, but we got a lot of seniors playing.
That's huge, especially guys that have, kind of been in this moment, all have playoff experience and, got a chance to play in the fourth round now. But, looking at the competition for, next week's game, it's a team you've already prepared for, team you're familiar with, right down the road basically from you guys. So that gives you a little bit of, confidence that, you already did it once. Let's go do it again. And, let's go finish the mission.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, everybody says that, but we've kind of taken the opposite approach of, hey, we're playing a new team. I think they've gotten better as the season going on as well. I think everybody, as you get to this point, when you played this many games and this many snaps, you start to figure out, hey, some things maybe you did early in the season you weren't very good at, some other things you're better at, and so you do more of. And so while you're playing, most of the same players outside of, a couple bodies in and out for injuries, there's still things have changed, and they do some things differently than they did early in the season. And so it's like preparing for a new team. You see some new things, and you gotta be prepared for something that maybe you didn't see. I think we played on week 7, so it's been, that's 6 weeks of football, that have happened since then. So there's definitely some different things on film, things that are better. They're better at. Some guys are back that were hurt. Some guys are out that played against us. So we got to react to all that.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, they have definitely changed a lot about the way they played, and it's shown on the field. They've won some games now, and nobody makes it to the fourth round without being good. Your luck kind of starts to run out after that second, third round game, and now it's based off just talent, because no matter who you're playing, they're going to be talented.
There's no bad teams left. There's no bad teams. Every team has really good players at different spots, and that's just part of it. I mean, when you look on the film, there's good players at a lot of different spots, and every team has them.
So do y'all know you're the home team, right?
We are, yeah.
So what's the message like to the community right now? It's basically a home game for you guys. It's right down the road, but what do you want to see out of the community and the fan base and everybody?
Well, the fan base will take care of themselves. We don't have to talk a whole lot about them. They did a great job. They traveled unbelievable to spring last week and filled that stadium up. I have no doubt that they'll fill up our side of Doggett Stadium there in Beaumont, and just knowing Southeast Texas, there'll be so outside of just Port Arthur people, there'll be a lot of people down here supporting us on Saturday.
Yeah, no doubt. So one thing that doesn't really relate to this show, we talked about it kind of earlier in the season, but what have you done so well to keep your kids focused, in order, bought in, and letting them understand that we win a district championship, that's great, but it's not the final mission. Everybody says play at Thanksgiving, play in December, that's the 2 goals, then go play for a state championship. But what have you did to keep your kids locked in and humbled, and ready for this big game Saturday?
Well, I think there's been a lot of realism amongst our kids. Even before the season, they understand that this team's pretty talented. You don't have to convince them of that. And so they have lofty goals themselves this year. Just we as a community, as me and myself, I think we all understand that there's some things that are really attainable this year. Nobody's going to give them to you. You're going to have to go play. But our kids have really been locked in and focused on that, and understanding that, hey, practicing on Thanksgiving was cool. Winning the third round was cool, after the game. But, hey, like we got a quote on our board out there, that the Kobe Bryant quote, "The job's not finished," And we talked about after the game, they hand you a trophy and it's all cool and everything, but that wasn't what our goal was. So it's time to move on to the next round.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we still working out, all that stuff, still nothing changes.
No, it's the exact same. Our guys know when they come in here what the routine is. They know what a Monday practice looks like, and we lift on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and they're going to do the exact same thing. And we're going to condition after practice on Mondays, and Tuesday is a Tuesday is an energetic physical football practice here. We go against our defense live, and it may be the best football of the week on Tuesday afternoon. So we have fun on Tuesdays. It's a competitive day, and then kind of rest up and get ready to play on Fridays or Saturday this week.
So, with that being said, did y'all have the community out for practice on Thanksgiving?
We didn't. We kept everything the same. We had our Thursday. We just did it in the morning. Just so everybody could get to their family. We stayed on our normal routine, and we had some community members feed them breakfast and everything, and kind of feed throughout the week. And we had practice, our normal Thursday lift and practice and meetings, and got home to eat some food with the families, and then got back here on Friday.
So, me not being a coach, do you say that you'd rather have school the week of a big game than not having school?
I'm probably less of a big deal about that. Everybody always said that, and then we dealt with COVID for a whole football season, and some people were in school or out of school. I think you just dealt with it. I think our kids you had a whole week without it. Thursday was probably the biggest change for us because we're not a morning team. That was the first day we came up in the morning all season long, and so Thursday was a little bit different for our kids, but Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we practice in the afternoon just like we do every day of the year. And so it was the same as for us. Outside, they were just sleeping late, but now we had good practices. And like I said, I think it all just, when you got seniors that have been there, seniors that have played, they're very, very goal oriented. They understand what's at stake. It's easy. Like, there's no motivation going on right now. That's handled with where you are in the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt. And like you said, you're very senior led, and the seniors are that they're the backbone. This is it for them. They know what's at stake. They know you lose, you go home. You win, you keep playing football. So there's a lot. It's a lot on the line for them.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, for them, it's just realistic. I don't know if they've ever thought of it, but realistically, outside of a handful of them, once their high school season ends, their senior season ends, that's the last time they'll play football. And so, we're fortunate enough to have some guys that are going to go play ball in college, but that's not the majority of them. And so, they've I'm sure it's in the back of their mind, but I think that's why you see these playoff games where teams are just fighting, because kids do have a realization that, hey, this is it. This isn't one of those sports that 10 years from now you put pads back on and you go play. That's me and you go to the golf course, but no, we're not going to play football.
Yeah.
And so that's a big deal for kids, and I think that's why you see so much emotion in these games and these playoff games, because it means something to them.
Well, after you leave Jerry World, if it's all, everything goes right, I'd love to have you down here at Crown Colony and get you around to golf.
Hey, I will definitely do that. I got to take care of Barbers Hill at Doggett Stadium before I worry about any other stadium.
That's why I said after you leave Jerry World.
Yeah. I'm worried about this week first. I don't even know what's in store around the rest of the state. But Barbers Hill is going to be a really good test. They're a good football team, and they're playing really, really well at this point in time.
Yeah, and you look at the game last night, and we all thought Whites had it wrapped up, and Barbers Hill kept fighting.
They kept fighting. They kept fighting, and I think it just kind of happened. Whites gave them just enough opportunities, and they took advantage of them, and they played with a lot of energy. I was there. You could tell the kids played really, really hard. There was a lot of energy from the sideline. There was a lot of energy just in the stadium on their side. And so I think you could tell, and at the end of the game, that probably made a bigger difference than people realize.
I think Barbers Hill is one of those teams, and I might be completely wrong, but they remind me of one of those teams that want to be there. Yeah. They might not. Everybody might not be meant to be there, but they want to be there. And when you want to be there, you can do a whole lot more than kids that just are meant to be there.
Yeah, I mean, they play really hard. They played really hard when we played them last time too, but they played really hard, and they've got some talented kids, and so when you put that together and you play sound football and you play well, you at least give yourself a chance to win those games, and so they've taken advantage when the last couple of weeks when teams have made mistakes. they've capitalized on it.
Well, Coach Morgan, like I said, we'll keep it short and sweet. Go out there, take care of business on Saturday. Got it on the calendar to try to make that game. We're going to see what happens. That's a lot of days out before now, and hopefully this weather will clear up some and you don't have to worry about rain delays. I think that's been an issue for a lot of teams.
Oh, man, cold and rain would be good for us.
No, man, if those Panthers are playing, I'd be there 100%, but
yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to go stand out there in the rain for anybody other than the Panthers.
Well, I tell you what, that cold and rain will be good. We're gonna run the football, so that cold and rain will fit us just right.
Yeah, y'all don't have a problem running the football. That's that's been something y'all been doing all year long, and it's like they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. I tell everybody, good players taking care of bad coaching. That's it. So we just try to make sure they get on the bus and hand them the football, and they know where the end zone is. They know how to find it.
Well, Coach Morgan, like we always say, good luck this week. Go take care of business and bring it back to Port Arthur. Everything goes right. I guess I'll look forward to having you back on next week.
I hope so.
Good luck, Coach Morgan. Good luck to your kids and everybody else. We wish y'all nothing but the best. Thank you for coming on Live from the Pines.